Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Anyone who's here on Zoom, everybody who's joining us on YouTube. Welcome to lunchtime Lenten meditation. We do a little centering in the middle of the day, and I try and keep it to about 15 minutes because I know for some people, you've got things to get back to. So today we're going to center and thinking about the idea of temptation, which tends to be kind of a central theme during Lent. I've got some poetry to share from this book, Susceptible to Light by Shalon Harkin. And I will share a poem by her while we light our chalice called Wild Order. So if you have a candle nearby, or a chalice, I invite you to light yours now. And if not, after I light one here for all of us, I will share the screen. You can just direct your focus to the flame on the screen. It doesn't have to be real. Here we go. This is called Wild Order by Shalon Harkin. Your controlling ways are actually quite crude compared to the way grace works. Look how the earth has let herself go, and somehow the flower is drawn. It turns out your willpower, all that efforting, is astoundingly weak compared to the easeful way beauty shares herself in the form of a hummingbird. Your perfectionism is quite a rough attempt compared to the wild order of the leaf. None of the small tendencies within you can begin to compete with the mastery that comes through everything surrendered. There's a bigger you waiting in there. Now slow down, pull your life over, and put all your intention of giving yourself over to that. Take a deep breath, friends, and let's start to center ourselves in our seats, wherever we sit. Let us find support of the good earth beneath us. Maybe your feet find the floor. Maybe you reach out to touch a table or the arm of a chair. Let your shoulders fall away from your ears. Let your eyes soften and maybe close as we breathe here. Part of the big idea of Lent is to emulate Jesus's 40-day spiritual journey in the desert that we hear about in Christian scripture. And the scriptures, they tell us about his being tempted there in a series of trials, resisting temptation, and coming out on the other side of this journey, ready to die for a cause. And so we, understandably, we focus during this season on resisting our own temptations. But we've inherited from our European Christian spiritual ancestors an unfortunately skewed idea of what temptation means. We've come to think of resisting temptation as resisting pleasure, resisting the needs and desires of our bodies, resisting rest even. So we give up small delights like chocolate and wine and Instagram to feel like that's our work against temptation, to feel like we're doing the work. When we read the stories of Jesus and his resistance to temptation, though, what we see is that he was resisting the temptation of power, the temptation of control, the temptation of sacrificing nothing to heal the wounds of the world, the temptation of acquiescing to systems of empire and oppression, and all of the comfort that comes with that. The very opposite of depriving oneself of those small and sacred delights that the world has to offer. So maybe We center ourselves today on the idea of temptation. We try to think about it differently. Maybe temptation is not a rejection of delight, not a refusal of those pleasures of creation that our bodies and our hearts call us toward, but a rejecting of austerity and control of the systems of power. And that looks a whole lot like surrendering to delight. So breathe with me now. Breathe into that place of surrender. And I offer you these words. Teach me to surrender. Show me how to let go. Teach me to surrender from the battles I never wanted to fight, from the war I really don't believe in. Let me let go of the prejudices I've learned, the deeply buried hates and heartaches and hardness that I defend against change in spite of myself. Teach me to unmake the battlements I've built in my heart, to set down the swords I use to shelter the me I don't want to be anyway. Show me how to take apart the armor I wear to keep those painful parts hidden, even from myself. Teach me to surrender and dismantle the arsenal in myself, to melt down the defenses shielding my hurt and my hurtfulness, and to form them into plowshares. Let me let go. Let's breathe for a moment in silence. One more breath together, in and out. And I want to share another poem by Chalon Harkin as we close, called Come Home. First, I tried to cut out fat, then eliminate sugar. Then it went to my shadows. I tried to dust them all off, clean out my cellars. I kept trying to perfect every corner of my being, health, relationship, spiritual life, and it wasn't working. Darling, stop trying so hard. That's so often the answer. Just give your mess a warm place to come home to. Just give your mess a warm place to come home to. Let us end there today. And I will see you next week on YouTube only. We will not be on Zoom next week for our midday meditation, on YouTube only. And I look forward to seeing you then.